Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NAC TV. I'm Eoin Devereux, journalist with the Banner Press, welcoming you to the show for this week's edition, joined by Casper Wehrhahn, journalist as well with the Banner Press. Good to have you here, Casper.
Good to be here once again and going through another paper.
And we've got plenty to go through, and we actually put a little bit of mileage on this week's edition of the Banner Press. Starting off in Carberry, Casper, you took a little bit of a tour down the highway to the community over the weekend, and you took part in a now recurring memorial event. We've talked about it in the past, and we're very, very proud to be able to share with you some of this again this year. Some very important messaging behind it, though, isn't there?
That is absolutely correct. For anyone who's unfamiliar, this is the, this year was the second annual memorial walk and fundraiser in honor of Kalena Green from the Carberry community. And I have to say, it was another great turnout this year. I was a little worried, of course, with the storm on Friday. We had the rain and the snow coming down pretty good there that day, and it was looking kind of rainy driving into Carberry on the Saturday there, but thankfully things held off. We didn't get any rain for the duration of the event for the period that I was there, and hopefully it stayed away for the remainder of the gathering. But yeah, there were several hundred individuals out there to show support to the Green family again this year, as well as supporting the Campbell family. The Campbell family was a part of this year's event as well, and donations were also being collected for Xander's Legacy Fund.
Again, if you're unfamiliar, if perhaps you've forgotten, check into the archives of the Banner Press. This is another story Casper was able to get for us within the last year. Xander's Legacy Fund. It's difficult circumstances, but it is wonderful to see that these two have joined together to create something that can do some betterment and some positivity, not just for the community of Carberry, but for the region.
Absolutely, yeah. They both have a focus on mental health, of course, and resources for mental health. With the Kalena Green side of it, it's more so, helping to fund a project that she would have loved, the Carberry Splash Park. She had a lot of involvement in numerous things in the community, including the pool there. So that was sort of the thing that they had in mind for her for this event. And then just, the resources and whatnot through Xander's Legacy as well. Both very active individuals in the community, just being involved in different things and actually physically as well, going out and doing different things. So a walk is definitely a great way to sort of honor them in a special way and bring people together for support and all that, because this year's event as well was also dedicated to anybody who lost a loved one. So very important to have that community fellowship out there.
And there's conversations that need to be had. That's the important thing about this as well, is that it opens up a feeling of togetherness within a small community like that when tragedies like these do occur. It affects the families, but it affects the community as well, especially when it's tight-knit, like a community such as Carberry, for example, very much is. And to see the hundreds upon hundreds of people that came out, combined together, amalgamated together in this moment to support those two causes in the way they did, under the circumstances of some less than perfect weather, it's nice to see. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more, this is one of those ones. Take a few minutes, read through it. You can find it, of course, on our front page, this week's edition of the Banner Press, and it continues on to page 8. It's a 20-page paper this week. We were able to get a lot of information into those 20 pages. It was a tight squeeze this week, but we were able to do it. And that's why we take some personal pride from time to time as well, because even though we are the Neepawa Banner Press, we like to be as best as possible the region's newspaper. That includes places like Gladstone, like Carberry, like St. Rose. We're not able to be perfect at it each and every week, but we do our very best to tell not just Neepawa stories, but everyone's stories. So this is one of those where we're happy to be able to share it with you. And we hope that you will be able to take something positive away from it. We're going to stay in Carberry, actually, for our next story. This one, we have to be very careful with. We're going to be more careful with it, if we're going to be honest, than the CBC was careful with it. Did you end up seeing the article the CBC wrote on this issue with the Beautiful Plains School Division and a parent?
Not the CBC one, no.
Oh, they use the actual quotes. All right,
okay.
I'm going to get you in on this now. We learned of this story. It was broken, and we give full accreditation to those who broke it. It was broken by the Winnipeg Free Press on last Friday, the 24th, about the Beautiful Plains School Division bringing forth a legal lawsuit, a defamation lawsuit, against an individual who was posting some scathing, shocking, and this is just my opinion. It's not the opinion of the Banner Press. It's not the opinion of NACTV, but shocking and surprising and extreme comments online. If they're true, if they can be proven true, then wonderful that this is being shared out there. But that has something that needs to be gone through a litigation, as it were. Like we're being very careful with this. Essentially, a parent was accusing some teachers and some administrators and some leaders in the Carberry educational system of some very shocking shocking is the best word for it, shocking things to do with students. They were posting videos, they were posting social media posts on primarily Facebook. School division learned of these and put forward the action of saying, hey, you are accusing us of a lot of different things, and you are accusing specific people, naming certain people, and you're going to back that up with something. And there was a back and forth in between that. We brought up the CBC story because the CBC story, CBC Winnipeg, actually used the actual quote-unquote words that this person said. We didn't do it in our story. We very specifically decided not to. It was very inflammatory. You may agree with us in that we didn't share it, or you may disagree with us, saying you're not telling the whole story. And quite honestly, maybe both sides are right in this case. But you can find this. The Winnipeg Free Press did the article, CBC Manitoba did the article, we did our own version with attributations to those we sourced on there. This is a shocking. I keep using the term shocking. I think if you're sitting at home, I mean, you got a pad and paper. I think this is maybe the 7th time I've used the word.
Keep a tally, call it in.
That's
Don't
right.
actually call it in.
And if you're able to guess without going over, you'll win a special prize. Prize is not valid. But let me get your take on this, Casper. Like this whole thing as it broke, what was your takeaway from all this?
I was certainly very stunned to hear about it. I don't remember how we found out. I think Ken actually was reading the newspaper because we had just gotten it that day.
Yeah.
The Winnipeg newspaper. And he was like, "Oh, what is this?"
Yep.
And was like, "Hey, did you all know about this?" And we're like, "No, what's going on?" And he kind of like explained what was going on in the article and did a little bit of look online too for it. And yeah, I don't really know what to say about it, but definitely concerning, I suppose. I mean, you got the comments there that are concerning in and of itself, but I mean, like, this is a very delicate situation. I mean,
Yeah.
in not necessarily this case, but in any case like this, if there was actually something going on, you need to go through the proper channels, of course, with anything like this, and have things to back it up if you can, and pursue it in a manner that's fitting to the situation. But we've had discussion before that, especially nowadays, people online can say anything and everything. I mean, people have always been able to say anything and everything, but it's especially an issue in the online world, because I think, even though it's not true, I think people have this sense that, oh, I'm online, even if my account does have my name attached, it doesn't have any bearing outside of this. And that's not true. It really isn't. You need to be careful about what you're saying, because you do still have legal ramifications. I mean, if you're accusing people of different things, I mean, it can come back to bite you, as it maybe should.
That's why, again, if you're consistent and loyal viewer of the show, thank you very much for that. But you'll most likely also know that I have no time, no patience for Facebook whatsoever. I think it's a waste of existence, quite honestly. And it's not real life. It's not the real world in any way, shape, or form. Your little echo chamber that you find yourself in on there, that's not reality. Whether it's on the right, well, with my left hand, to your right, whether you're on the right side or whether you're on the left side of the political spectrum, whatever, or whether you're in the middle, it doesn't matter. You're not in the real world there, but you do got real world ramifications, real world stipulations and requirements and things like that. And this is a perfect example of that. You just can't go online and say somebody's kicking puppies when they're not kicking puppies. If they are kicking puppies, though, they should be buried under the doghouse, quite honestly. But that might not be the popular opinion. You might be pro kicking puppy, but I don't want to hear from you.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is slightly off, but on topic, I guess. But there's definitely a difference between freedom of speech and everything else.
Again, it's one of those things. This is the wonderful thing about Canada and the United States and many nations on this planet. You do have freedom of speech, very much so. But that doesn't mean freedom of consequences. Mm-hmm. You've got to remember that. And if this is proven in court, then this is a perfect example of that. If this person's comments are true, though, like I said, buried under the school. Again, that's just my opinion. Might not be your opinion, might not be NACTV's or the Neepawa Banner Press. But if you're doing things, objectionable things to this degree that some of this wording is associating, then you should be 6 feet under the school, quite honestly. But that has to be proven. You have to be able to prove that. And right now, the beautiful Plains School Division has brought this forward because at this moment, it's defaming individuals that perhaps don't deserve in any way, shape, or form to be defamed. This is one of those stories that a small town community paper doesn't always run into, but when we do, it really turns into a thing, doesn't it?
It really does, and it's definitely not something that we like to have in the paper. We never like to have bad things in the paper, but they come up and we have to cover them. But I guess my only hope is that, well, one, the comments are false, and two, that things get worked out and we can move forward in a more positive light afterwards.
This is one of those examples of we do hope that you read the Neepawa Banner Press and you learn a little bit about it. But we do ask you as well to maybe do some of your own due diligence. If you want to learn a little bit more about this, track down the May 24th edition of the Winnipeg Free Press. Again, I give accreditation in the story to the gentleman who broke this story for the Free Press, Eric Pinderna of the Winnipeg Free Press. As well, CBC Manitoba is another one. They also added some new elements, some new layers to this story just after we went to print. So go ahead, track this down online if you're able to, and maybe learn for yourself and take some of it with a grain of salt, perhaps. We like I said, we don't like sharing bad news, but I'll phrase it this way. We try to share with you the truth. And sometimes the truth isn't fun. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the truth is shocking. I think that's 9 now. So take it, read it, and learn for yourself. And we'll definitely see where this continues to develop. Because it feels like this is one that's not just going to be 1 week and go away.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully through all that discussion here on the show, I didn't put my proverbial foot in my mouth here. And it's very different having the thoughts up here and knowing what I want to say and actually trying to say them. That's
right, because Casper, not only is the internet forever and Facebook forever, but NAC TV as well is forever.
A lasting legacy.
Everything you've said is out there right now. So... ta-da! All right, let's go on to a little bit more positivity. And this one is very much an example of a positive story we always love to be able to share with you in the Banner Press and right here on the story behind the stories. One of our local community artists, Katie Martin, was recently recognized at the Women of Distinction Awards. Women of Distinction are an annual event, an annual gala that goes on in Brandon, put on by the YWCA. Been going on 25, 26 some odd years. I was living in Brandon at the time when it first started. It goes back that far. And it spotlights women, not just from Brandon, but around the Westman area who are contributing in some sort of positive manner in so many different ways or shapes. Katie Martin this time was nominated for one of the Women of Distinction Awards in the Art and Culture category. If you've been a consistent viewer of the show or the reader of the paper, or even if you just walk around Neepawa, you see many of Katie's little pieces of art that she has contributed to the community since she and her family moved here from Ontario 7 or 8 years ago, 9 years ago perhaps. But she's been a great contributor. I've worked with her for a couple years on Neepawa Tourism, got to know her and her vision for what this community is and what she sees from the community giving back. And she's very committed to Neepawa, which is nice to see. And it's nice when something like that type of commitment is seen by others and appreciated. And she was nominated for Women of Distinction, and she ended up winning that award. Now, you can find that story. It's on page 2. I had an opportunity to speak with Katie about it, her reaction to it. She wasn't familiar with the Women of Distinction Awards until she got the nomination. She learned a little bit more about it, learned about some of the other individuals she was nominated with, not just in her category, but in the 9 other categories that are a part of the annual gala. And she said it was very humbling to be associated with these individuals who are contributing in such big ways, as she put it. So she felt very proud, even just for the nomination. So to take the win, you can just imagine what that meant for her on a personal level. I'm not going to give away too much more on that. I want you to be able to track down the story on page 2 of this week's edition. Read it for yourself. I always appreciate being able to share these types of spotlights with people from Neepawa and surrounding areas who are doing good for their community. And this is a pretty good example of it.
It really is, yeah. I mean, I was stoked to see Katie Martin get this distinction here. I mean, as you've said, she's very involved in the community, has been on Neepawa Tourism, and has done a number of other things in the area as well. I mean, the wonderful mural and the bench at Hidden Hollow over there, for example, that was a collaborative piece with another artist as well. And she had another collaborative piece put up somewhere else in a further community, right?
Yes, you are right. In actuality, herself and another artist, and let me just give this other artist the credit that they deserve as well, it was Megan Peters They put together the art piece that now hangs proudly at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, the home of the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Maple Leafs. They, along with about a dozen other artists from all over Canada, were selected to have their artworks prominently placed in the arena. So it was actually a front page of our newspaper maybe about 7, maybe about 8 months ago, or maybe about 3 months ago, who knows. Time now is a construct that has no reality to me anymore. The last 4 years have all been a blur. I'm assuming it's still 1998. I'm hoping it's still 1998. That was a good year.
Think the mullets will come back?
Oh, yeah. Seinfeld was still on. Friends was funny. Computers were just where they needed to be. And it was before Facebook. Don't get me started on that again. But getting back to Katie here, congratulations, Katie, on that. And very much enjoy sharing those types of stories each and every week in the Banner Press. Just like we like to be able to share this story here. Another artist from the region who is sharing their talents with us. And you were able to track this one down, Casper, an upcoming exhibit for Brad Mummery.
Yeah, so this is going to be the June exhibit at Arts Forward. It's called, now I need to find it. I didn't highlight it. Earth, Fire, Wind. I admit, when I first read it, my first thought was Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I'll be honest with you, Casper, that makes me so proud that someone from your generation knows that Earth, Wind, and Fire is a thing. You don't even have to name any of their songs, just knowing that they exist as an entity is just like, well done, parents. Well done, family.
Did a good job.
Yes, good job.
But no, this is a very interesting, I think, exhibit that's going to be in Arts Forward for the month of June. Sort of a mixture of different media. I mean, scroll saw art and woodworking stuff, his India ink and other different works. But this has a particular special spin on it for next week, June 6th, because he, in collaboration with Arts Forward, wants to do something to support youth art. So there's going to be a bit of a gala opening lunch benefiting the NACI art program. And the exhibit itself is also going to be, from the sounds of it, set up on a sort of progression basis to show how he's developed as an artist over time, to hopefully inspire these kids to, once they start something, to stick with it. Because, art, like any other skill, it's something that builds up over time and you slowly get better at it. So, everyone starts somewhere. That starting place can look differently for everybody. But if you keep working at it, over time, you'll improve, and who knows where it will take you. So this is just another thing that he has done over his years, or I guess is going to do from over his years of supporting youth art and trying to help encourage kids to pursue it.
It's really nice to be able to share that type of story. And we've talked to Brad about other endeavors over the years to be able to bring his name back into this week's edition of the paper and some of his contributions and the wider scope of this. Really nice to be able to share some of that. And hopefully you're going to be able to share it yourself by going down, seeing it for yourself in the near future. As Casper said, it is the 6th that this is going to be occurring. So keep an eye on the calendar for Arts Forward just to see how all that plays out. All right, we've got a few minutes left. I'm just going to give a quick shout out. Neepawa Air Cadets recently had their annual ceremonial event. They do these presentation drills and their full spectacle there. They do it each and every year. Keep an eye out on the calendar, on the schedule for NACTV. I'm sure they were there filming as well, so there's going to be presentations on this channel where you'll be able to see it for yourself. It's wonderful that they were able to do these types of presentations and showcase the year's worth of effort for their friends and family. Just wanted to give them a quick shout out on that because I want to talk about this last one here most definitely, and maybe we'll be able to get onto the fair before it's all said and done. We've talked about the positives in Neepawa. Now, unfortunately, we're going to get into the negatives. And we're going to talk about the potholes, throughout the community. Everybody seems to be talking about them, and so is Town Council. At their most recent meeting, they made a decision. They're transferring some funding from a few things they had planned, but maybe are on the waiting stages right now. They're transferring them over onto roads. Specifically, some improvements, some very specific improvements happening on a block over on Mill and a block over on Hamilton, which are really in bad shape. If you live in Neepawa, you know exactly which 2 blocks I'm talking about. Those are going to get looked after. As well, just general road repair, pothole repair is going to be ongoing starting off in June. We've already seen a little bit of it over actually on Hamilton a day or so ago. So that's something a lot of people have been talking about, and a lot of people have been really frustrated about, Casper.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before on the show. Depending how bad your roads get in any town, it can be a hazard in a number of ways. And yeah, unfortunately, some streets in and around Neepawa have been quite bad this year. I think partially or perhaps wholly attributed to sort of the wacky early start that we had to spring there. Start. Just kind of oscillating back and forth between, you know, warmer weather, colder weather, snow and rain, et cetera, et cetera. Just being really rough on the roads there. And of course with the usual wear and tear that comes with you know, regular driving on the roads as well. I mean, some streets got quite bad there with some big and some pretty deep potholes. So it's good to see that getting tended to now. I know I was very relieved when I went down Hamilton again the other day, and things were all patched up. The gravel in the couple spots there was all smoothed out again, so I didn't have to do as much dodging that time, so that was good.
Having said that, of course, we do talk about the reasoning behind there's so many potholes this year. Obviously, winter didn't do us any favors, but that in the grand scheme doesn't matter. How it happened doesn't matter. What matters is what are we going to do about it?
Right.
And there's been a lot of people in this town frustrated because it felt like there wasn't much or there wasn't more being done about it. Town council and the administration have heard that. Boy, have they ever. And they've decided to move on that in this way. So this is sort of an extra bit they're trying to do. So we'll keep an eye and see how it plays out from there. We only got a couple minutes left. There's so much more we could have talked about. On our schedule here, we were going to talk a little bit about the Winter Fair, which happened over the weekend. We got a bunch of pictures from it, so you can find that in this week's paper. We were going to talk about the Farmer's Advocate. Our monthly special section for agriculture is in this week's paper. And that's why you got to pick up a physical copy of the Banner Press to get all these other stories that we weren't even able to get the chance to talk about. The Ladies Legion Auxiliary, Neepawa Titans auto-protecting Nolan Kozak in their Bantam draft, Santa Clara Baseball League play. There's more than that, than what we talked about in there. So you can find a copy of the Banner Press in 30 different communities throughout Western Manitoba. If you can't find a physical copy, always remember, every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central, it goes live on our website, mywestman.ca. Again, live on our website, mywestman.ca. So we always do appreciate the support that you give us. And we definitely try our best each and every week to get the stories that you're interested in. But we do need your help from time to time. So if you have a story idea, give us a call at 476-3401. That's the number to reach out to us. Or you can email us at news@neepawabanner.com. That's again news@neepawabanner.com. We try and chase them down as best we can. So again, that's about it. Casper, thank you very much. You hit the road. You did a lot of sort of traveling out and about this week. So great to see that.
Absolutely, and always great to have news from other communities and to be on here on the show, and looking forward to another one.
Most definitely. And we couldn't do this without you, whether you're supporting us in print on the Banner and Press, or whether you're supporting us right here by watching the show each and every week on NAC TV. So again, for Casper, I am Eoin Devereux, and we thank you, and we will see you again right here next week on The Story Behind the Stories.